This conference will now be recorded.
Perfect. I just want to say welcome to everyone that's joining us present or enjoying this recording later. This is our next installment of the NWBA webinar series presented by ABC Medical. And this one's focused on the important topic of uh, score table or volunteer scores. This is as many of the individuals on here and those watching, this is a critical topic for us to discuss as NWBA being so reliant on volunteers, but from the competitive aspect, volunteer table officials are critical to us playing any games in a game or tournament or event format. So we're going to talk through various topics of shot clock procedures, game clock procedures, timeout procedures, and score sheet. So I'd be remiss not to also mention our sponsor of this webcast or webinar, ABC Medical. ABC Medical is one of the leading suppliers in urological supplies throughout the U.S. They've been a proud partner of the NWBA for a number of years, supporting a variety of different programs for us, but also providing a lot of great programs available to our members. And so we're really happy to have them as a partner to this opportunity in this webinar series as they continue to invest in our members in different ways. So just want to say thank you to ABC Medical on behalf of the NWBA. We appreciate their support and any support you all attending this can provide to them. Next up, I have the pleasure to announce the presenters' star-studded presenting group tonight. I think this is to date probably our biggest, heaviest hitters. Starting off first, Mike Woodard, our Director of Officials. A number of other accolades here. NWBA Hall of Famer, been around in the sport for 30 plus years. You name it, in officiating or some type of leadership. Mike's been involved in it, critical part to our success in recent years, and appreciate everything Mike's going to present on tonight. Next up, we have Mr. Buddy Barnes. Again, another 30 plus year servant to the NWBA. Gives so much back to the game as player, coach, and most notably adult division commissioner, leading our largest division in our sport, on top of finding some time to officiate some games. So appreciate having Buddy on and giving his expert. And then next up we have Kevin Hughes. So Kevin has been able to be an on-court, coordinate on-court officials, but being able to support on-court table officials in the event management space. I think one thing we think about in a training like this, you obviously have the during the event, and we're going to talk a lot of pre-event or during event, but a lot of pre-event planning, and Kevin is going to kind of probably give that aspect during the webinar tonight, and training up those volunteer table officials. And last but not least, we have Laura Perry from the amazing Lakeshore Foundation. Laura's been a coach there and leads up a great program there. Again, they're one to host some great events within the NWBA, and again, lean heavily into a number of table officials to support those events. So I'm glad to have such a diverse panel for tonight to present on topics. So that's enough hearing from me. I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Buddy Barnes to kick things off.
Hey, thanks, Brendan. It's an honor to be able to do this for our membership. I think it'll be a valuable tool to help with their volunteers as they conduct tournaments and really get our table staff much more buttoned up, so to speak, to be able to help the officials and the teams itself. If you go to the next slide, please. We'll go to the next one, Brandon, thanks. We'll go to the NCAA rulebook, the duties of scores, section 9. One of the first things we have to do with the score sheet is make sure we have all our players and their uniform numbers written down. A keynote is to make sure that they're written down numerically. It's always good to be able to look down and not have to look through jumbled numbers. To be able to see what's going on, it gets fast-paced at times, and to be able to look down to put the score for a number 4, so to speak, instead of having to look down through 3 or 4 different numbers to find it. It's right there, just numerically in order. In Article 2, the scorer will be doing the field goals and the free throws made and missed, and keep a running summary of the points that are scored. That's a very important for the scorekeeper, is to make sure that running score is accurate. You'll see on the score sheet in just a few slides that you'll have a space to slash through the number that's scored and be able to put the number of the person, the player that scored. Number 3, record the personal and technical fouls that are assessed to each player, and the technical fouls assessed to the coach or team members or bench personnel. Well, also, the scorer is supposed to notify an official immediately when a player has committed their 5th foul, and notify an official immediately when a second technical is charged to a coach, to let them know that, hey, this has happened. This is the second time, and they're dismissed and eliminated from the game. You can look down at Article 6, and they'll notify an official immediately when a head coach receives a combination of 1 direct or 2 indirect or 3 indirect technicals. It's very rare that happens. I think Mike will be able to say he's probably seen that 2 or 3 times over his many years. But I've seen it twice when that's happened, when you've got 3 indirects or something like that. Next slide, please. You can see, let's look at in 8, record the timeouts charged to each team and notify the official when the team is taking its final allowable timeout. Mike will be covering the timeouts for each division and the timing that's involved with each timeout, when certain horns should be blown at certain times. But the scorer will be responsible for putting those down and making sure that we know exactly how many timeouts that are left at the end, toward the end of the game, so we can notify the teams. Also, the number 10, signal the nearest official in each period when a player commits a common foul, except for a player control or team control foul, beginning with the team's 5th foul. In NCAA women's, they play 4 quarters, and they will get 5 fouls per quarter, and then they'll shoot 2 shots. In the adult division, we do 4 quarters, but we still go the old rule with the 7 fouls for the 2 quarters. It carries on first to second quarter, and they'll be 1 and 1. And after the 10th foul, you'll shoot 2. So the scorer's responsibility is to let the referees know when that's happening, so that they can make sure that we're shooting 1 and 1 correctly, or shooting 2. Number 11, the official scorebook shall remain at the scorer's table throughout the game, including intermission. Very important. It does not leave that table. That has happened a few times over the years that I've seen, and had to make adjustments to make sure that doesn't happen, that it cannot leave the table. Number 12, you'll compare the records in each goal, in each foul, and each charged timeout, notifying the referee at once of any discrepancy. When no error can be found, the referee shall accept the record of the official scorekeeper unless the referee has knowledge that permits another decision. when the discrepancy is in the score and the error is not resolved, the referee shall accept the progressive team totals of the official scorebook. Very important to keep that running score so we make sure that we know who has scored it and at what time. Next slide, please. Also, the scorer has to let the referee know the infractions of rules pertaining to the submission of rosters or substitutions in the number of players. And in 14, when necessary, signal the official with a sounding device unlike that used by the referee. Of course, you're not going to have a whistle at the table. I can't imagine Lauren Perry having a whistle. They're blowing it at us, Mike. I don't think that would be appropriate. But the game horn. All you'll do is tell the person running the game clock to give us a horn at a dead ball, and we will come over and take care of what needs to be taken care of. And 15, when a correctable error is called to the official scorer's attention while the game clock is running, the official timer shall not use the game clock horn until the ball has become dead. So in live play, you do not, hit the game, the clock and hit the horn. You wait till the dead ball. And in the 16, correct a scoring or bookkeeping mistake at any time before the referee approves the final score. As a referee, we're required to sign the score sheets at the end of a game. Anything that needs to be taken care of needs to be taken care of before we sign and leave the floor. Next slide, please. As a scorer, it's strongly recommended, and it's very important that you be at the game and be at the table no less than 15 minutes remaining in the pregame clock. And the signals that a scorer will use to notify a referee. Number one, for a team's fifth foul, the scorer will display two fingers and verbally state the team that is in the bonus. That's in the women's NCAA. For adult division, the NCAA men and the junior varsity division, you'll do the 1-and-1. So be the one finger on each, and you'll hold up one each. In a game, we don't deal with the replay in the NWBA, so you will not have to deal with any of the media stuff, which is a good thing, because as anybody that watches basketball knows, those can be tedious and take away from the game. Number 4, for a disqualified player, the scorer will inform the official as soon as possible by displaying 5 fingers, holding up all 5, with an open hand, and verbally state that it's the 5th foul for the disqualified player. Next slide, please. As you'll see on the score sheet on the next slide, we do scoring by periods for college women and for the adult division, as well as prep. They do 4 quarters, and you'll have one for the field goals and one for free throws, and you will do those as a scorer. You'll put in a 2 or a 3 if it's a 3-pointer, and if there's a free throw, you'll do an open circle, and if they make it, you'll exit out or darken it in. You'll keep up with those through the periods. Before the start of the game, the last name and jersey number and the player classification and classification status of each eligible squad member should be recorded in the appropriate spaces. That is something unique to the NWBA, is the classification and their status. Able-bodied does not have to deal with this, but we do, and there can only be a certain amount of classification points on the floor. So the scorer's responsibility is to make sure that, according to what division it is, in college men and women, it's 14 classification points total between the 5 players. In the adult division, it is 15 points. And in varsity, Lauren, help me out here with varsity. How many points can they have on the floor?
I believe it's 8 for varsity, 9 if you have a female playing.
Yes, exactly right. Just want to make sure Lauren's on top of that there.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. It's very important that we make sure that we are not over on points, and it does happen from time to time. And you'll let the official know once that happens, and that is a technical foul. The team that has been over on points will have to fix that discrepancy, make sure the right number of points are on the floor. And since it is a technical foul, the other team will shoot one free throw, and then we will go back to the point of interruption when the discovery was made. As far as fouls, each personal or direct technical is charged to a player. You make a slash through the next available number on the score sheet where fouls are. You'll see that in just a minute. This will enable the correct total of fouls charged to each player. Technicals may be used as a T, or as if it's a intentional foul, with an I. Under field goals, after each successful field goal by a player, mark a 2 or a 3 in the field goal column. Mark a 3 only if you see a successful basket from beyond the 3-point goal, and the official will indicate that with both hands raised. Free throws, record each attempted successful free throw. Free throw should be recorded with a circle. Like I said before, if it's attempted and missed, you just leave it open. And you can put an X, or you can darken it in if they make it. Next slide, please. Team fouls. There is a team foul select portion of the score sheet. Mark each personal, unsporting technical, or contact technical charge to each team to determine bonus free throw situations. Indicate the time of the foul or the player's jersey number who committed the foul in the space provided. And we go to timeouts. Mike will cover a lot of the timeout timing wise when he does his presentation in just a little bit. But you'll mark each timeout charge to a team and the time that it occurred. The timeout request may also be indicated in this section. Use the space provided to record each timeout. The running score. I've talked about that twice now through this, and I will reiterate it. This represents the game score. It's very important that you keep the running score with the players who scored their number. As the game progresses, the score is indicated here. The alternate possession. At the bottom of the score sheet, you'll see a space to keep track of the team possession during the held ball situations. The alternate possession rule is used when change of possession occurs. And then total line beneath the scoring area. Vertically at the bottom of the field goal, 3-point field goals and free throws for each quarter. Then you'll enter the totals on the total line. You check figures with the running score to make sure they match. Next slide, please. And there's the reference page. It's already filled out. Running scores, the score sheets, everything's done. You can actually see how that game progresses with the score sheet. And you'll see on the left, it starts with the fouls. Go across toward the middle. You'll see the number of the player. You'll see the last name. Then you'll see the class and their classification status. And then it goes to quarters or halves, like in NCAA men. You use the first and second quarter for the halves. If this is all you have, if you've got an NCAA book, it'll be in halves. You can see at the top the scoring by quarter. Once you write down all the scoring that's happened in there, check it with the running score, then you put the total at the top for each quarter. See how the free throws are how I was talking about with the circles. If they're darkened in, that they've missed. Well, they've hit one and missed one. You'll see number 4 in the first quarter was 1 of 2 from the free throw line. You'll also see right above the fouls on the left where roster is approved. That is what the coaches are required to sign off on to make sure that the classification, the numbers, the name with the number is correct before the game starts. As referees, we will go out and we'll measure chairs, and we will make sure that the classification points and stuff are correct. And then the coach will sign off on the roster. If you go down just over halfway, you'll see where the team fouls are. You'll record the foul on whatever number that the foul was on. Let's say it's on number 4. In the first half, you'll slash from left to right. Second half, you'll go from right to left and to indicate which one is in each half. And you'll record it in the team foul as well. Go to the middle, straight across from the team fouls, you'll see the timeouts and how you record those. You actually record them. You'll have the fulls and then the half timeouts, the 30-second timeouts. You'll have you'll slash through that. You'll put the time that it happened and the number of the person that called the timeout. It'll be their number. If the coach calls it, it'll be with the letter C. Now over to the right, past the timeouts, you'll see technical and notes. Anytime a technical is called, anything that's unusual. I see that Aaron has joined us. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate you being on tonight. You saw the other day when I called the Class B technical. It's a rare one that's called, but then you put it in the notes section. There, if he's a Class B, we'll do a one-shot foul technical, and then we'll come back to the point of interruption. You'd make those notes there. And of course, at the bottom, the most important thing when the game is progressing is the running score. You'll see you'll see the first 2 points. If it's a field goal for 2, you'll slash through the 2 and you put the number of the person that scored, which is 44 in this point. The free throw by number 25 for the 3rd point, and so forth. And you'll keep that up all through the game. And if you go to the bottom, you'll see the alternate jump ball. You'll see the time that it happened from the tip, and then the next one when it occurs at the time, and so forth. And that lets you keep up with it, especially if some places do not have the alternating possession on their game clocks. It's very helpful to have that. I know we will take questions at the end of this if anybody has any, but I'm going to turn it over now.
Hey, buddy, I've got a couple comments. Is that okay?
Oh, you go right ahead, sir.
Couple things, and great job so far. The scorekeeper should also notify the officials when a team is getting ready to shoot a bonus. So if we're shooting on the 7th team foul, then the scorekeeper should notify us and let us know that we're shooting on the next team foul. We're shooting a bonus, or if it's in a women's NCAA, on the 4th team foul, because we shoot on the 5th. So just make sure your scorekeepers notify the officials when they're going to be shooting the next bonus. Also, when it comes to discrepancies in the scorebook, many times I've seen scorekeepers that sit on the bench or sit in the stands, and they're the team's unofficial scorekeeper because they're not sitting at the table. They are allowed to sit at the table. Both team scorekeepers can sit at the table. And any discrepancies that we might have, we can use the other scorebook as long as it's at the table. If it's not at the table, we can't use the scorebook as a reference. But nothing can be changed. The coach yells, "Hey, that's 4 fouls, not 5 fouls," and they're yelling at the scorekeeper, or they're going to the table and asking them to, change it. Just know that the scorekeeper is not allowed to change anything in the scorebook without the official's approval. That's very important because it happens quite frequently. That's all I got.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. So we will turn it over to shot clock operation and rules.
Thanks, buddy.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate it very much. So one thing just to kind of highlight in all of this is if you're watching this webinar, thank you. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be volunteering to help make wheelchair basketball run smoothly for us. Other thing to kind of note is just as there are two teams on the court, you at the score table are a team as well. Many times I'm highly encouraging the scorebook people, the two teams, to kind of work off each other. So as one team has team A, one team has team B, there's times that somebody who's doing team A, their head is down writing, and team B, the opposite team could be watching, especially if there's a quick turnover or something else that happens really quickly. So both people can kind of work together and communicate and kind of feed off of each other. Same thing with the shot clock. The shot clock operator and the game clock operator are two separate people. They must be two separate people. But there are situations that we'll go over here in a little bit that the two, the more they are in tune with each other, the better off they both will be together. So you want to go ahead and go next slide. So before the game starts, you want to do some tests. You want to make sure that you feel comfortable with the buttons and everything else that's happening, but you also want to make sure everything is working properly. Not to get too in the weeds detailed, but there are two kind of styles of how the shot clock will work. Some will be separate from the game clock, where you'll have to operate it as a separate entity, whereas in others are synced with the game clock. And that does make a difference on how you hold, start, stop, and reset. So we'll go over that here in a little bit, but you want to make sure that you know what the difference is, and the tournament director should be able to help you with that. So yeah, kind of look over that. You just want to make sure the shot clock is working properly. Tournament director should make sure that is together, but make sure you run it beforehand, and yeah, that's so you're good to go. So next slide. All right, so the start, if your shot clock is not in sync, so essentially where you have to actually physically start the time and stop the time, it's not based on the operator starting and stopping. Those are the bullet points you want to look at. So each time a team gains possession on a rebound, a jump ball, a loose ball after a rebound or jump ball, light ball thrown in after a made basket, that's when you want to initiate the time. It's important that you focus on those starts, that you started on those possessions. So on the actual rebound, on the jump ball, well, that's with the game clock, but as soon as they start the time, and it goes, sorry, kind of fumbling around a little bit, but essentially that shot clock start time is the same start time as the game clock operator. So you want to be in sync with them doing it at the same time. So the stop is very simple. Pretty much every single time you hear the whistle blow, you stop the shot clock. Now, again, if you are in sync where the shot clock and the game clock are together, you're not stopping it. So that's not something that you'd want to be doing, because you might accidentally hit the wrong button on that. But anytime you hear the whistle, you want to anticipate as you're watching the game, seeing the action. Obviously, when the ball goes out of bounds, anticipate when that whistle happens, and then stop it. If you see some kind of collision or something and you see the referee raise up their hand, the whistle goes, that's when you want to stop it as well. Full reset. This is big. This is very important. Before you hit a full reset, make sure you know it's one of these bullet points. If you're not sure, don't reset. Worst case scenario, the referee, the officials on the court will give their signal, I don't know if you can see my finger, but they'll spin their finger around and kind of force you, in a sense, to reset that shot clock. When you do reset the shot clock, be mindful. You see it at the 17-minute mark, the 15-minute mark, whatever it might be. In your brain, think about what that number is, because if, let's say, you do reset the shot clock, and you shouldn't have, and it's a time that we're able to correct it at the table on a dead ball, the referee, the official, is going to look at you and say, what was the time at? It's up to you to know what that time is at all times. It's tough, but it's just one of the things that you have to kind of focus on. So try to remember that. But on the full reset, it's when you reset it when it changes possession. The ball is loose, you do not reset it. Just wait. That ball will be dribbling or moving or whatever. If neither team has full control of the ball, then the time continues. If it's on a personal foul, technical foul, on either team, it'll be a reset automatically. A lot of those will be on the whistle, so you hear the whistle, delay. You don't need to necessarily hit that reset right away. Make sure that you know that there is a foul, technical, whatever it might be, but just make sure that you feel confident that one of those things has happened. Let's see, number 4, a try, not a pass. Sorry. Then the team possesses the ball. Yeah, so again, they're just kind of reiterating, making sure that there's full possession. If there is a fisting, somebody punches the ball, that'll be another violation the referee will call. That'll be a reset. If there was an inadvertent whistle, there was a mistake, which happens from time to time. Inadvertent whistle with no team control, then it'll be reset. I guess maybe Mike or somebody could give a clarification, but if there is team control and inadvertent whistle, I assume it's not a reset. Is that right?
So if there's an inadvertent whistle with no team control, then if there's no team control and we've killed the play, we have to go to the possession arrow. So it could be a reset if the other team receives, but it's going to be a reset probably just for the fact that on the inadvertent whistle with no team control, that's just a mistake that the official makes. So we would reset it.
I guess as clarification, if you did have control and there was an inadvertent whistle, there was a team.
No. So if there's team control and we have an inadvertent whistle, we actually had it this weekend in a game by an official. We're just going to go back to point of interruption, keep the clock, shot clock, game clock where it's at, continue play then.
Yep. That's what I was thinking. And so that's a good example of why you don't reset it right away. You kind of wait, you pause, and you make sure that it is a good time to reset. So when in doubt, do not reset. Make sure that it is the right call. A held ball that occurs, if there's a change of team possession, kind of the same thing, a tap or a try that falls to hit the rim and is recovered by the opponent. So yeah, if it goes up, it does not hit the rim, you got to make sure it does hit the rim. If it does not hit the rim, that fails to hit the rim and is recovered by the opponent. So yeah, if it's recovered by the opposite team, then yes, it's a change possession. But if it doesn't hit the rim and the same team gets that same ball, then no full reset. So again, just kind of stay focused on, does it hit the rim, does it not hit the rim, so on and so forth. So yeah, so just kind of look those over, just be sure, be confident, and yeah, I hope that makes sense. Next slide. So yeah, 15 seconds, we kind of talked about this before. If the ball is fisted, the ball is punched, it'll be on a dead ball. We'll set the shot clock to 15 seconds if it's under 14 seconds or less. And then no reset, I kind of went over this a little bit, but no reset when the offense retains possession after the following: a held ball or a ball out of bounds violation. So if there'll be no reset, no reason to hit the 30 seconds reset if the ball just goes out of bounds, but it's the same team. The next, the ball is intentionally. Okay, sorry, we just talked about that. If there's an injured player, there'll be a delay. There'll be an official potential timeout, maybe, but that has nothing to do with the shot clock. If a timeout is called, that's separate. There's no resets. The shot clock will be the same. And then, okay, so we were just talking about that. If there's an interval whistle with the team control, obviously we just went over that. If the team has control, no matter what the whistle might be, if they still have control, the possession's still theirs, so it's no reset. And then it kind of goes over when to allow the shot clock to run. Kind of talk about some of these, but during loose ball situations, again, make sure that ball keeps going. That's fine. Wait for that position to change. And then during a try for a goal, even when it's at the wrong basket, even if it hits the other rim, it doesn't count. It has to hit the rim. And when a block shot remains inbounds and was covered by the opposite team, again, be patient. That's the key to all this. So go ahead, next slide. So you want to turn it off if there is a reset situation and there's less than 30. It should be 30. Oh yeah, sorry, it is 30. Should be 30 seconds remaining on the game clock. Also, you would turn it off if there is question as to whether the score was made within the shot clock period or whether a try for a goal strikes the basket ring. The final decision should be made by the game official. So that goes back to what I was saying before. When in doubt, let the officials kind of direct you on that. So otherwise it's going to hold. So that's all with shot clock. If there's any questions, talk about it now or we can talk about it later.
Kevin, I got one thing to add. One of the biggest situations when we have inexperienced table crew is we have a situation where a shot clock operator will reset the shot clock, especially on a made basket. So the ball is, it's a bank shot off the glass. It hits the rim. It goes through. They reset it at 30. Now the shot clock's running. The opposing team grabs the ball, takes it out of bounds. Especially in wheelchairs, a little more time, maybe have to retrieve the ball or something like that. So now the shot clock's down. They get 5 seconds to throw it in. The shot clock's down to 25 seconds or maybe 26 seconds. Then they throw it in. And so now we've robbed that team, and then it's not reset. We've robbed that team of additional 4 or 5 seconds. So just make sure if they're going to reset it on a made basket, that when the ball goes out of bounds and the clock is running down, when it is gained control on the floor. So when I throw it in, player A throws it to player B. When B touches the ball, we reset that to 30 seconds right then. I see that many, many times in situations where we have inexperienced table crews. That's all I got. Thanks.
Cool. Well, next we have a game clock operator by Lauren. So take it over, Lauren.
All right, thanks, Kevin. So running the game clock is one of the easier jobs when you're working the table. And here at Lakeshore, we like to kind of have our table crew there 30 minutes before the game. That way they can get familiar with the clocks, the table, and everything that they're doing. And kind of like Kevin said, the game clock operator and the shot clock operator work hand in hand. There has to be communication there, and kind of getting in sync with each other. So with that being said, like the clock operator can also help assist the shot clock operator, letting them know, hey, that's a reset, or the ball hit the rim, or don't release the shot clock yet. So that, like he said, that does play hand in hand. Next slide, please, Brandon. So like I said, the clock operator needs to be there early before the game. They need to be able to confirm that everything is working well with the clock, with the officials. Next day, let's see, we have this squad. Sorry, I'm trying to see this small. I'm sorry, not to sound the horn for a disqualified player until the reporting official notifies the timer to start the clock for a disqualified player. So when you're sounding the horn, you're sounding the horn to start that 15 seconds. And we'll kind of get into that later. But you don't want to sound it before that official lets you know. Next, it is the duty of the clock operator to have a digital stopwatch to kind of keep track of timeouts, and for like equipment timeouts or blood or anything like that, or substitutions. And Mike will kind of get into that a little later, right after this. So when starting the clock, the clock operator needs to make sure that they're waiting on the official to kind of give them a signal to start the clock. And normally that'll be the official dropping their hand. And so the clock operator is started once when the ball is tapped during the tip off, and when it's touched after an inbound play, and then also when it's touched after a missed free throw. It'll remain live after an unsuccessful free throw. Next slide, please. So when they are stopping the clock, they need to wait until the whistle is. Make sure they wait until the whistle is blown by the official. And then you'll also stop the clock after every made basket within the last quarter, when there's 59 seconds left, 59.9 seconds left in the last quarter or extra period. A lot of teams, not a lot of teams, a lot of tournaments get that kind of mixed up. They may stop it in the second quarter, but you want to make sure that you're only stopping it in that fourth quarter. Another responsibility, like I was saying before, of the clock operator is sounding the horn 15 seconds before time expires. And that's during like 20-second time limit for the remedy of blood or lost or displaced contact lens situation, or to replace an injured player. Then you'll sound a warning horn also when there's 15 seconds left, not 15 minutes, sorry about that. 15 seconds left during halftime or in between quarters, and also during any timeout. After sounding that warning horn, they will sound a final horn once time expires. And if time expires if gameplay begins before time expires, you don't have to worry about hitting that warning horn. That final horn. Next slide, please. All right, so the possession arrow. So once the game starts, the possession arrow is set to, of course, the team who loses the tip off. For example, if Team A wins the tip off, then Team B will get the next possession arrow, and they'll get it at the next alternating possession situation. After that next possession, alternating possession situation, the arrow will go back to the opposite team. And the only time that you won't switch the arrow is when a team fouls on an alternating possession throw in, or the ball is intentionally kicked or fisted. So also one of the other things that we did not put in here was notifying officials of when there's substitutions. So when the players come to the table, they need to identify who they're going in for, and I believe Buddy may have said that earlier. So they'd come to the table, kind of say, hey, 15 going in for 10. And at any time, these substitutions can be withdrawn. At the first dead ball, with the clock stopped, the clock operator needs to sound the horn to let the officials know that there's a substitution. If at this time an official is reporting a foul to the table, you want to make sure that you wait until the official is finished communicating before sounding the horn to let them know that there is a substitution. Make sure that the player does not enter the game until they're signaled to by the official. And also, if the officials do not hear the horn or don't realize that there is a substitution, it is okay to sound that horn again before the ball becomes live. Once the ball becomes live, there can't be any substitutions until the next dead ball. In the last 59.9 seconds, there can't be a substitution after a made basket when the clock is stopped, unless the official sounds their horn. It has to actually be during a dead ball, say that the ball goes out of bounds or a timeout or something like that, or foul, which if there's a substitution, when a foul occurs, the substitute will be made only when it's a shooting foul, I'm sorry, they'll only be substituted before the final free throw is attempted. And if the substitute is for the free throw shooter, then the timer should blow their horn immediately after the last basket is made, and the substitution will then be made. If their last free throw is missed, then the clock runs when the ball is touched, and the player will substitute at the next dead ball. So those are kind of the little things, responsibilities of the game clock operator. I know I kind of blew through that. Are there any questions or anything? Mike, you got anything to add?
Yeah, I do. Just great job. No, that's okay. You are correct. In a men's game, we substitute. So when a player is fouled and we're shooting 2 free throws, let me just clarify this. In all cases except for women's NCAA, the substitute will come in on the second shot. If it's a bonus situation, they can come in, substitute in on the first shot of a bonus. If it's a 2-shot foul, in all situations except women's NCAA, they will come in on the second shot of the free throw. If it's women's NCAA, they will substitute on the first free throw. Again, men's and women's NCAA like to have their own things they want to do. So just note that women's NCAA substitution on the first free throw. Make sure that during all substitutions, I think this is where we're probably lax most of the time, is that we will hear coaches holler at us, hey, we have a substitute, but that substitute has not been at the table. He has not reported in. The horn has not been sounded, so substitutes need to be at the table. They need to report who they're going in for, and the table needs to sound a horn to the official so the official can beckon them. Players are not to come on the floor until a official beckons them or waves them on the floor to play. That's all I got.
All right. Well, thanks, Mike. So I guess I will turn it over now to you, Mike, for timeouts and timing situations.
Okay, go ahead, Brandon. Let's go to the first slide, if you would, please. What I want to talk about is just the basic mechanics of timeouts and timing situations that we have in games. As you see, there's a variety of timeouts. We have 75-second timeouts. NCAA men use these. Other divisions use these in the NWBA Division 1, 2, and 3, and junior division. So in a timeout situation, here's the mechanics that will happen. The official will blow his whistle, and he will look at the table. He will give a signal as to timeout. He'll put his arm straight across if it's a full timeout, or he'll actually touch his shoulders for a 30-second timeout. He will also verbally tell you whether it's a full or a 30-second timeout. And at that time, he should also let the scorekeeper know who called the timeout. So I'm going to signal I have a timeout on the blue team. Number 10 called the timeout. It is a full timeout. Start your clock. So at that time, when the official signals the table to start their clock, they will start the timeout. In all timeout situations, there's a warning horn. So just know that whatever timeout situation it is, where it's 75, 60, 30, 45, we will give a warning signal 15 seconds that's left on the clock. Now, if it's a situation where a team, we had it this weekend, a team called a 30-second timeout. They just wanted to get a substitute in. They didn't want to take a timeout. So the team that calls the timeout decides they just want a timeout to stop play to substitute, and they can do that. We came back on the floor. So the scorekeeper should just stop the clock, reset it, and we move on from there. 60-second timeouts are used for NCAA women's. So those are full timeouts, same scenario there. Official will report it, warning horn at 15 seconds, and second horn with no time left. 30-second timeouts, same situation. In wheelchair basketball, we have a unique timeout, which is a 45-second timeout for equipment. So a player's going down the floor and he blows a tire. He gets a flat tire. You'll know it when it happens because it sounds exactly like a shotgun going off. So the player will yell to coach, the official, hey, I need an equipment timeout. The equipment official will then blow the whistle, stop play. He'll look at the table. He'll tell the table that this is equipment timeout. In that situation, there's no limit to how many equipment timeouts a team can have. The biggest thing with equipment timeouts is that it cannot be used just to change a chair because he doesn't like how that one's rolling, or to restrap his belt strap because it came undone. It has to be for equipment that is broken or faulty. Those are the situations for equipment. Same scenario there, 15 seconds left. In the timeout, we sound the horn. If the equipment cannot be repaired and he cannot substitute, for instance, sometimes because of the point totals on the floor, he doesn't have a person on the bench he can bring in to field a legal team. So what he can do is the team can also call a timeout. So he can't substitute and get him substituted, and he thinks he needs a little more time to get the equipment repaired. He can call a timeout to repair the broken equipment. We have a 20-second time limit for blood, lost contact, so forth. So when that happens, the official should look at the table, tell him to give him 20 seconds for blood. At that time, when it gets down to 15 seconds, so in 5 seconds, we're giving him a warning, letting him know that in 15 seconds he needs to either substitute or take care of the blood situation. With a 15-second time limit for disqualified players, here's the most important thing I can even say about this one is that so when a official reports to the table that number 15 had a foul, the table's then going to the scorekeeper should notify and hold 5 fingers up to the official stating that that's the 5th personal foul on that player and he is disqualified. At that time, what the official should do is then the official should let the coach know that that's the 5th team foul on number 15 and that he needs to replace the player. At that time, he looks at the table, tells the table to give him 15 seconds. Don't start it when when you report it, don't start the clock on 15. You wait till the official notifies the coach. That's when the 15 seconds starts. Okay? And then the coach is supposed to bring a disqualified player onto the floor. And again, it talks about having a digital stopwatch at the table, not to use a cell phone. I would highly encourage every team to do that. And there's an obvious reason we don't want cell phones at the table keeping time, because cell phones also get looked at the table. They distract people there. So we would just assume that cell phones stay away from the table during all instances of play. And again, it says, the game clock may not be used to track time during any of these situations. I know some college programs do that, but it's discouraged not to use a game clock just based on the fact that sometimes scores get changed, things happen when you're using a game clock in these situations. I'm not adverse to that, but the manual says not to use them. So anyway, do we have any questions about any of the timeout scenarios? With no questions, I'll finish up and say thank you to Brandon, Kevin, Lauren, and Buddy for presenting today, and thank you for those that have attended. And I hope this has been very informative to everyone, and hope to see you on the floor next time. Any closing comments, Brandon?
Just to keep to add to what you said, Mike, I appreciate and thank you for your time putting this together. Educational opportunities like this for our membership. Sometimes they might not come across as the most exciting things, but they're very, very to the success of running an efficient, effective, and appropriate gameplay for our league. So definitely appreciate the presenters and appreciate anyone that takes the time to view this webinar. It's very critical to get this stuff right, because we know at the end of the day we're a sport and we want to follow the rules and have all those individuals that are helping ensure the rules are being followed, are supporting the officials and teams in that. So I want to say thanks again for everyone that watched, and feel free to reach out. I know all the presenters here, I could probably say on behalf of them, if you have questions, you can reach out to them directly, or you can reach out to the office and we'll direct you accordingly. But thanks so much for attending, and good luck this season. If you're finding yourself out on the court, hopefully we'll see you out on the court soon, and all the best.